The voice in the wreckage space was quiet. Too quiet. Commander Jake Lawson leaned back in his pilot seat, eyes half closed. His small ship, the Hawk, floated through the empty edge of the drift sector. No signals, no life, just cold silence and a slow drift of stars. He was used to this. Deep space patrols were long, lonely, and boring, until he heard the voice. Please. Help. Human. My baby is starving. Jake's eyes snapped open. He checked the comms system. Weak signal, old frequency, not human. The voice was soft, broken, almost fading. But it was real. He leaned forward, typing fast. Origin of signal? A small dot appeared on his screen. Not far. Near an asteroid belt. Computer, scan area. Any ships? Scanning. One unknown vessel detected. Power low. No life signs confirmed. Jake bit his lip. It could be a trap. Pirates sometimes used fake signals, but that voice, it didn't sound like bait. It sounded desperate. He powered up engines. Hang on, whoever you are, he muttered. I'm coming. Minutes later, the Hawk approached the source. A small alien ship floated among the rocks, its hull broken, half burned. No lights, no shields. Just darkness and slow spinning. Jake activated lights and docked carefully. He put on his suit and entered the wreck. Inside, it was cold. Air was thin. Walls were scorched. The ship looked like it had been attacked. And then, in a corner, under broken panels and wires, he saw her. An alien mother. Thin, weak, breathing slow. Her skin was pale silver and her arms wrapped tightly around a small shape. A baby. She opened her eyes and whispered again. Please. Help. Human. Jake knelt beside her. It's okay. You're safe now. I'm Jake. I'm human. I heard your signal. The baby didn't move. It was alive, but barely. Its body glowed faintly like it was made of soft starlight. My baby. She hasn't eaten in 2 days, the mother said. Our food. All gone. Engines failed. I sent the signal, but no one answered. Not until now. Jake opened a pouch and pulled out a small nutrient gel pack. This isn't made for your kind, but maybe it'll help. The mother took it slowly. Her hands shook. She placed a small drop on the baby's lips. The glow got a little brighter. The baby gave a weak sound, almost a coo. Jake looked around. What happened to your ship? The mother's eyes filled with fear. They attacked us, my people. We were fleeing from the Takari. Jake frowned. The Takari? Never heard of them. You will, she whispered. They take children. They don't kill them, they use them for something terrible. Jake felt a chill run down his back. The mother clutched her child tighter. I escaped. But they're looking. They'll come. They always find us. Suddenly, the wrecked ship's console sparked. A warning light blinked. Signal. Detected, the computer said. Someone's scanning us, Jake muttered. We have to go. Now. He lifted the alien mother carefully. Can you walk? She nodded weakly. He carried the baby. It was so light, almost like it wasn't made of flesh and bone, but light and air. They returned to the Hawk quickly. Jake undocked and pulled away from the asteroid belt. He moved into stealth mode. No engines, just slow drift. He watched the radar. Something passed by. A black shape in the dark, silent and fast. It didn't stop. Didn't see them. They were lucky. Jake breathed out. The mother sat across from him, eyes full of tears. Thank you, she said. Jake shook his head. Don't thank me yet. We need a place to hide, somewhere safe. The baby opened its eyes. They glowed like stars. Jake stared. Your baby. What is she? The mother hesitated. She's special. Her kind is rare, only born once in 1,000 years. They call them spark children. What does that mean? It means, she said slowly, the Takari will never stop. Not until they have her. Jake leaned back in his chair, eyes on the stars ahead. Well, he said quietly. Then they'll have to go through me first. She was hunted. The stars outside the ship looked calm, but inside the Hawk, the air was heavy with tension. Jake watched the baby sleep, still glowing faintly, her tiny body wrapped in a soft blanket. The alien mother, Sira, sat beside her, staring in silence. Her silver eyes looked lost, haunted. Jake had seen many things in space: war, death, betrayal. But something about Sarah's fear felt different. It wasn't just fear of death. It was fear of something worse. Who are the Takari? Jake finally asked. Sarah didn't answer right away. Her voice, when it came, was low and flat. They were once explorers, like your kind. But they changed. They started taking. Taking what? Life, children, minds. They don't destroy worlds. They harvest them. The strong are turned into weapons. The weak are thrown away. Jake frowned. Why your baby? Sarah hesitated. Then she looked up, eyes full of sorrow. Because she's not just a child. She's a key. Jake raised an eyebrow. A key to what? I don't know, Sarah said. But they think she can open something, unlock something. Maybe a machine, maybe a weapon, maybe time itself. Jake stared at her. He thought this was a rescue mission. Now it felt like he'd just stolen the one thing a dark empire was hunting, and they would burn the galaxy to get it back. Just then, the Hawk's system beeped. Long-range scan detected. Unknown signature. Tracking trajectory. Matching Takari pattern. Jake's blood ran cold. They found us already. They always find us, Sira whispered. They mark minds. They follow the spark. That's insane. No, that's real. Jake stood and activated stealth protocols. Engines dimmed. Lights dropped. The ship became a drifting ghost in the void. We'll go dark. Head to Sector 9. I know a moon there. Abandoned mining colony. They won't expect us to hide there. Sira nodded but said nothing. She just held her baby tighter. 6 hours later, the Hawk landed on a dead moon. The base was old, metal buildings half buried in dust. Power lines broken. No signs of life. Perfect. They entered carefully. Jake scanned every room. No movement. No signals. Just silence. Sarah set up a small sleeping nest for her baby in a corner. She hummed a quiet song. Something soft, old, and sad. Jake stood guard outside. But the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt wrong. Like the moon was listening. The next morning, Jake checked the ship again. He noticed something strange. A small scratch on the hull. It wasn't there before. He looked around. No wind. No rocks nearby. No signs of life. Just one scratch, like a warning. He checked the radar logs. There had been a ping, a small pulse, at 0322 Galactic Standard Time. Not from space, from under the ground. Sarah, he said, walking back, into the base. We're not alone here. Her face turned pale. They're already here. How? I told you. They don't chase ships. They chase minds. Just then the baby cried. The walls flickered, lights sparked. The ground shook just a little, like a heartbeat from the moon itself. She's reacting, Jake said. To something. They're calling her, Sarah whispered. Trying to connect. Jake grabbed his weapon. We're leaving. Now. They ran back to the ship, but the hatch wouldn't open. Locked. From the inside. A voice came from the comm system. Cold. Deep. Not human. You have something that belongs to us, human. Leave the child. Walk away. You will not be harmed. What the hell? Jake whispered. Sira fell to her knees, holding the baby close. They're here. Inside the base. Watching. Listening. Jake raised his blaster. Let them watch. He opened the emergency hatch, a manual override, and pulled Sierra and the baby through. They ran through the dust, back to the far side of the base. As they turned a corner, Jake froze. 3 figures stood ahead. Tall, dark armor, glowing eyes, no mouths, no faces. They didn't move. They didn't speak. They just waited. Syrah's baby cried again, louder. A shockwave hit the walls, metal bent, glass cracked. One of the Takari stepped forward. "Give us the child," it said without a mouth. "Over my dead body," Jake growled. The Takari lifted a hand. Energy built, but before it could fire, the baby screamed, and everything exploded. Walls cracked open. Power lines snapped. Light burst from the baby's body, blinding white. The Takari fell back, screaming in strange, broken sounds. Syrah grabbed Jake's arm. "Run!" They ran through smoke and fire and back to the ship. This time, the hatch opened. "Systems rebooting," the ship said. "Spark energy detected. Unknown interface stabilizing." "That's her," Jake muttered. "She's talking to the ship." The Hawk lifted off just as the base behind them collapsed into fire and dust. Hours later, Jake stared at the stars again. Sierra sat beside him, holding her baby. "They won't stop," she said. "You saw what she can do. Now they know." Jake nodded, slowly. "Then we don't hide anymore," he said. "What do we do?" He turned to her with fire in his eyes. "We make them afraid. Not just a baby." The stars moved slowly outside the ship's window like they were watching. Inside the Hawk, silence filled the small cabin. Jake Lawson sat in the pilot's chair, eyes fixed on the sleeping alien child. The baby, the spark child, had changed everything. Just hours ago, she had screamed and shattered an entire moon base with nothing but raw, uncontrolled energy. It wasn't a weapon. It was instinct, and that scared Jake more than any enemy ship. Sierra sat across from him, cradling the child in her arms. Her face was tired but not weak. Jake had learned something in the last day. Sierra wasn't just a scared mother. She was a survivor. "She saved us," Jake said quietly. Sierra nodded, brushing the baby's soft, glowing hair. "She didn't mean to. She doesn't know what she is." "Not yet. Then you need to tell me. What is she?" Sierra looked up, her silver eyes full of something Jake hadn't seen before. "Guilt. She's not just my child. She's part of something old. Something my people tried to bury." "Bury?" "Long ago, before your kind reached the stars, there was a war among my people. A war over power we didn't understand. Some believed we could shape energy with our minds. Others feared it. Psychic power? No, she said. Something deeper. The spark is not thought. It's will. It's the raw force behind life itself. Only a few are born with it. Fewer survive it. The Takari. They want to control it. Weaponize it." Jake stared at the baby, still glowing softly even in her sleep. "So she's dangerous." "She's life itself, Jake. She's the future. Or the end." Suddenly, alarms flashed. The Hawk shook. "Proximity alert," the ship's AI said. "Unidentified vessel approaching. Stealth class. No transponder." Jake stood fast. "They followed us again." Sarah checked the baby. "She's cold. Something's wrong." The baby's glow had dimmed. Jake powered up the ship's shields and weapons, but before he could fire, the enemy ship disappeared. Just vanished. No explosion. No engine flare. Nothing. Jake checked the sensors. They didn't cloak. They phased out. "That's not tech I've seen before." Sarah looked shaken. "They're watching us now. Not from space. From somewhere else." "Explain." The Takari used. "To be flesh. Now there's something in between. They've merged with what you'd call quantum shadows. They can be almost real." "Ghosts?" "Predators in the fabric of reality." Jake swore under his breath. "How the hell do you fight something like that?" "You don't," Sarah said, "but she might." They both looked at the baby. Her eyes were open now. But she wasn't looking at them. She was staring at the ceiling, silent, frozen. And then she spoke, but not with her mouth. Jake felt it in his head, like a whisper behind his thoughts. They're in the dark. The ship lights flickered, then everything shut off. Total black. Silence. Cold. Jake grabbed a flashlight. "Sierra, stay close to me." They moved slowly through the ship. Everything was dead, even the emergency systems. Then Jake saw something on the wall, a handprint, burned into the metal, too large to be human, too deep to be natural. They were inside the ship. Jake whispered. Sierra nodded. "Testing us, trying to see what she is." The baby looked at the print and reached out. Her tiny hand glowed, and the ship turned back on, all at once. Lights, engines, heat, systems, all green. The AI spoke. Unauthorized presence purged, firewall adapted. "Thank you, Spark interface." Jake stared. Did she just fix the ship? She spoke to the machine, Sierra said. Not with words, with will. The same way the Takari control shadows, she controls light. The baby looked at Jake, eyes bright as suns. "She's not just a key," he said. "She's a weapon they can't control. And now they know she's awake." Later, Jake stood alone, watching the stars. The galaxy felt smaller now. He wasn't just flying a ship. He was carrying something that could start a war, or end one. The AI chimed again. Long-range signal detected. Human frequency. Alliance channel. Jake opened it. A voice came through. Broken. Urgent. "Commander Lawson, this is Captain Diana Voss of Earth's Outer Fleet. We received your emergency code. Do not return to Earth. Repeat, do not return to Earth. Something is wrong. Something is already here." The signal cut. Jake turned to Sierra. "We're not the only ones running anymore." Sierra's face was pale. "Then the war has already begun." The silent moon. 3 days passed since the last attack. The Hawk flew quietly through dead space, away from trade routes and communication lines. Jake Lawson didn't sleep much. He didn't trust quiet anymore. Quiet had teeth. Sierra barely spoke. The baby, now glowing almost constantly, had stopped crying altogether. Instead, she would stare at empty corners like she was seeing something no one else could see. "She's listening," Sierra said one night. "To the dark? To the Takari?" Sierra nodded. "To something older." That word chilled Jake more than he expected. Older. They couldn't run forever. The Hawk needed repairs, fuel, and time. So Jake made a choice. He set course for an old human research base, Dorma 7, located on a cold, abandoned moon. "It was shut down 10 years ago," Jake said. "Solar storms cut it off. No one lives there now." Sierra looked uneasy. "No one human, maybe." Jake forced a grin. "Well, let's hope squatters don't mind company." The base was intact. Empty halls, flickering lights, dust on the consoles. The power grid still worked barely. No signs of life. The scanners showed 0 life forms, but the baby's glow dimmed the moment they landed. She began to cry again. "She feels something," Sierra said. "Something cold." They set up camp in the med lab. Jake worked on repairs while Sierra fed the child and tried to keep her calm. That night, Jake walked alone through the base. Walls hummed with old power. Doors creaked like whispers. He turned a corner and stopped. A light was on. A console was active, but he hadn't touched it. Slowly, he stepped forward. On the screen were words. "Welcome back, Commander Lawson." His blood turned to ice. This base had been shut down for a decade. How did it know his name? He pressed a key. A file opened. Video logs. He played one. A woman's voice spoke. Calm. Cold. Test 442 complete. Subject responded to spark stimulus, with measured reaction. Emotional control still unreliable. Recommend exposure to human caretaker. Begin phase 3. The video showed a room inside. A spark child. Glowing. Alone. Crying. "What the hell is this?" Jake whispered. The logs were time-stamped 9 years ago, 1 year before the base was abandoned. The next log showed something worse. His name. Recommend pairing with field agent. Lawson, Jake. Profile fits caregiver parameters. Unaware of spark capabilities. Ideal for emotional bonding test. Jake staggered back. No way, this is fake. But the files were official. Alliance codes, Earth markings. He wasn't just rescuing the child. He had been part of a plan. From the start, he stormed back to the lab. Sarah, you need to see this. But the room was empty. Her bed, cold. The child's blanket, on the floor. Then he heard the scream, far down the hall. Jake ran, heart pounding. He followed the sound down into the base's old generator room, the lowest level. He kicked open the door. Sarah was floating in the air, held by a black force, her body twitching. The baby was on the floor, glowing bright like a star, and behind her, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Tall, pale, no face. A Takari, but different, more real, not a shadow, not a ghost, something between. Welcome, Commander Lawson, it said. We've been waiting. Jake raised his blaster. Let her go. You already let her go. The moment you followed the signal, the moment you cared, the Takari stepped forward. You were the test. And you passed. Perfectly. The lights turned red. The base began to hum. Sarah dropped to the ground, gasping. They used us, she cried. They used you. Jake fired. The shot passed through the Takari like smoke. You cannot shoot what is already inside you, it said. Then it touched the child, and the moon shook. Outside, the surface cracked. The base powered. Up systems Jake didn't recognize. Huge machines began to rise from underground. Sarah screamed. They built this base to trap a spark child. The Takari smiled without lips. You didn't rescue her, human. You delivered her. Jake grabbed the baby, who was glowing so bright now that he could barely see. If you want her, he growled, voice shaking. Come take her. The Takari reached forward, but the baby opened her eyes and spoke. Not in words, not in thought, but in light. And the Takari screamed. Its body cracked, twisted, and dissolved into dust. The moon rumbled. Energy burst from the child's skin, lighting up the sky. Machines exploded. Systems shut down. The base began to fall apart. Jake ran, carrying the child, Sarah beside him. Alarms blared. They reached the ship just as the moon split beneath them. The Hawk lifted off, fire chasing them into orbit. In space, Jake watched the moon below break into 2 pieces, dead, silent, gone. He looked at the child in his arms. What are you? He whispered. The baby looked at him and smiled, and Jake knew. She was not just life. She was judgment, and the galaxy would never be the same. Human rage. The baby didn't cry anymore, not after the moon shattered, not after the Takari screamed and turned to dust. She just stared out the window of the Hawk, glowing softly. Silent. Unreadable. Like a star trying to understand the dark. Jake, Lawson, didn't speak much either. Not to Sarah, not to the ship, not even to himself. His jaw was clenched. His eyes were tired, and deep down a fire had started. Slow, hot, quiet. But it would not go out. They were being used. All of them. Pawns in something ancient. He was done running, done hiding. He needed answers. So he turned the Hawk around and set course for Earth. You said not to go back, Sarah said, her voice sharp. They told you it wasn't safe. It's not, Jake replied, steering through jump space. That's exactly why I'm going. You think the Takari are hiding on Earth? No, Jake said. I think they're not hiding anymore. Earth didn't look any different. Still blue. Still beautiful. But Jake felt it the moment he entered orbit. The silence. No welcome signal. No automated clearance. Just static. Then the AI spoke. Warning. Orbital defense grid active. Ship flagged. Unauthorized. Prepare for inspection. We're being watched, Jake muttered. He landed anyway, at a secure alliance facility just outside what used to be Geneva. It was supposed to be a refugee base, but it was empty, not abandoned. Cleaned, no people, no voices, just locked doors and cold walls. And then the soldiers came. Black armor, unmarked, no insignias, not alliance, not human, not fully. "Commander Lawson," one of them said, "you've brought it." "She's a child," Jake snapped. "You know that, you've seen the logs." "She's a weapon," the soldier replied, "and Earth is not your playground anymore." Sierra stepped between them, holding the baby close. "We won't let you take her. You don't get to choose," the soldier said. Then he pulled a device from his belt, pulsing red. Jake recognized it. Spark suppressor tech. Illegal. Deadly. Especially for a child. "Don't," Jake warned. "Stand down, human." But Jake didn't move. The soldier activated the device. The baby screamed. Sierra fell to the floor. The air vibrated. Light burst from the baby's skin, but it was trapped, crushed back in by the device. Her glow faded fast. Jake snapped. He moved before he could think. One punch. The soldier's mask shattered. Another. The device broke in half. The rest of the team raised weapons. Jake drew his sidearm. He didn't shoot to wound. He didn't hesitate. He remembered everything. The quiet moon, the broken ship, the voice in the wreckage, the pain, the lies. And he fought like a human, not perfect, not clean, but full of rage. He didn't stop until the hallway was empty. The walls burned. Smoke filled the air, and in the center of it, Jake stood, blood on his face, breathing hard, the baby in his arms. Alive. Safe. For now, they fled the base. Back to the Hawk. But before they could launch, a new signal came through. "Commander Lawson," said a calm, cold voice. "This is Admiral Vrex of the Inner Command. You are harboring a threat to galactic stability. Surrender now." Jake stared at the comm screen. "Vrex," he said. "I remember you. You were the one who signed the Spark research order." "I was," Vrex said, showing no emotion. "And I still believe in it. You're working with the Takari." "We are the Takari, Jake," Vrex said softly. "We evolved. We adapted. We stopped being only human. That child is the last key, the final gate. We will open it. With or without you." "Not without a fight," Jake growled. "You can't fight us, not alone." "I'm never alone." He looked at the baby. Her eyes were bright again. Stronger. Wiser. She reached out and touched the control panel. The Hawk hummed. Systems boosted. Engines burned like Nova fire. "What are you doing?" Sierra asked, backing away as the baby stood. "Without help. She's choosing," Jake whispered. "Choosing what?" "To stop hiding." Outside, Alliance ships began to close in. Jake took the pilot seat. "Full power, evasive mode, bring up the stealth field." "Stealth offline," the AI replied. "Child has disabled stealth systems." "What? Why?" a new voice answered. A child's voice. But not just sound. It came from the ship itself. "No more hiding. Let them see." The stars lit up. Energy flared from the engines. The Hawk launched toward the blockade. Head on. The enemy fired. The baby raised her hand, and the weapons turned to glass in midair. Ships failed. Systems collapsed. One by one. The enemy fleet lost power. Their engines dead, their shields melting into light, and Jake flew through them like a storm. He didn't look back. Not once. Hours later, they floated in deep space again. Quiet. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was preparation. Jake looked at the stars. "They'll come again," he said. Sarah nodded. "Stronger." Jake looked down at the child, who smiled, who burned like a star. "Then we burn brighter," Jake said, "because now, it's our war." One human versus the Empire, the galaxy was no longer silent. It whispered in codes, cracked through stolen signals, and pulsed with the quiet fear of governments that thought they were gods, until a baby screamed and turned their weapons to dust. Jake Lawson knew what they were saying about him now. A rogue commander, a traitor, a man flying with a child that could melt warships and bend machines to her will. But he didn't care. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was going straight to the heart of it, to the Archie's ring, the black fortress orbiting the dead star Gran 4, a place no one returned from. Rumors called it the seat of Takari power. Truth was, it was something worse. It was where the gate was hidden, and Jake was going to burn it down. Inside the Hawk, the baby sat in silence, no longer an infant, not quite a child. She looked older, but not in body, in presence, as if every spark inside her had matured with each battle, each betrayal. "You sure about this?" Jake asked, looking at her. The girl, she hadn't spoken since Earth, not with words, but her hand reached out and gently touched the nav screen, and it moved. Not with tech, with will. "Yeah," Jake whispered. "I figured." Sierra watched them both, her face pale. "Arcus is not just a base," she said. "It's a machine. It holds the gate. It was built using spark energy thousands of years ago. Your people didn't make it. Mine didn't either. It's older than all of us. And they're trying to open it again? They don't even know what's inside. They just want control. They think the spark can unlock it." Jake clenched his jaw. "Then let's show them what the spark really is." As they approached Gran 4, the stars grew darker. The light seemed to fade, and in the distance the Archie's ring appeared, a massive metallic spiral wrapped around a dead star. Huge spires pointed inward, as if feeding something at the center. Jake stared. "It's not a space station," he whispered. "It's a keyhole." A voice cut into the comms. "Commander Lawson," said Admiral Vrex again. Calm, patient, manipulative. "You've come far. I admire that." "Cut the act," Jake said. "I'm not giving her to you. You were never meant to give her. You were meant to deliver her. And now you're exactly where we need you." "Yeah," Jake replied. "Then maybe you shouldn't have given me a reason to be angry." "You still think you're fighting us?" Vrex said softly. "You're not. You're helping us awaken what sleeps." Jake looked at the child. She wasn't afraid. She looked ready. They breached the outer ring. Inside was a city-sized labyrinth of glowing halls, humming chambers, and machines built from material Jake couldn't name. And in the center, the gate, floating like a dark mirror, pulsing like a heartbeat. Around it stood the Takari, no longer just shadow creatures. These were real, tall, evolved, half human, half spark. They bowed to the gate like worshippers. As Jake landed the ship, dozens turned, but none attacked. They were waiting. Vrex appeared, not on a screen this time, in person, still wearing human uniform, but his eyes glowed silver, his skin faintly pulsing with light. "Welcome," he said. "Go to hell," Jake replied. Vrex smiled. "We were born there. We made peace with it." He turned to the child. "You feel it, don't you? The gate calls to you." The girl stared at him, then took a step forward. Sarah moved to stop her, but Jake held her back. "Let her decide." Vrex extended his hand. With one thought, "You can open the gate, and we all become more than life." The girl looked at him, then at Jake. Then she reached for the gate, and stopped. She turned back, and finally spoke. "You want power?" she said. "But you forgot what power costs." Vrex blinked, then screamed, as his body lit up with burning light. His spark turned against him. The gate flared. The Takari howled, and the girl lifted both hands. She didn't open the gate. She unwrote it. Energy pulsed out in a shockwave that shattered the walls, cracked the ring, and collapsed entire sections of the station. The gate screamed, not like metal but like something alive. Then it died. The ring began to fall apart, alarms everywhere, ships evacuating, chaos. Jake grabbed the child and ran back, To the hawk, Sierra behind him. As the ring collapsed around them, the baby looked at Jake. Not with fear, but peace. It's over, Jake said. The girl shook her head. It started. They escaped just as the Archie's ring imploded, a sun-sized explosion swallowing the dead star, but something came out of the wreckage. A pulse. Not spark. Not Takari. Something. Older. Deeper. And Jake understood. The gate hadn't opened. But now, whatever was behind it knew someone had tried, and it was looking back. The girl turned to Jake. We broke the gate. Yeah, Jake said. Good. They'll come now. Then let them. He looked out at the stars. We'll be waiting. HFY. Humanity strikes back. The galaxy was holding its breath. They had broken the gate, and something behind it had opened its eyes. Not fully, but enough. Enough to notice the little things that dared to knock. Enough to start moving. Jake Lawson didn't know what it was. Not exactly. But he knew this. The Takari were afraid now. And if monsters fear something, it must be far worse than they are. The hawk drifted in a neutral sector, shielded and silent. Sarah sat by the girl. Now more than a spark child. Her glow was no longer unstable. It pulsed in rhythm, like her body was learning how to hold power instead of release it. They called her Aria now. The name just came to Jake one morning. He didn't ask why. It felt right. She was no longer a weapon. She was becoming a voice. Then, the signal came. Not from the Takari, not from Earth, from deep space. A transmission without language, without code. Just a pattern, a frequency, and a feeling. Hunger. It was followed by systems collapsing across outer colonies, machines shutting down, orbiting moons disappearing. No explosions, just gone, erased like chalk on black glass. They're testing, Sierra whispered. The thing behind the gate. It's reaching. What is it reaching for? Jake asked. Aria looked up. Us. Earth responded with fear. Emergency council meetings. War fleets deployed. Alliances fractured. Leaders arguing whether to surrender or retaliate, even though they didn't know what. To fight. But one signal cut through the chaos. A private locked transmission from the old Alliance Corps. Commander Lawson. Come home. We need you. When the Hawk arrived in Earth orbit, it wasn't greeted with guns, it was greeted with hope. Humanity had watched Jake's broadcasts. They saw the fall of Archies. They saw Aria, and for the first time, they believed she might not be a threat. But a chance. He landed at Luna Command, Earth's last major orbital defense base. Crowds gathered. Cameras streamed. Humans, scared, angry, desperate, stood shoulder to shoulder, not for war, but for answers. Aria stepped forward, and the people parted without a word. She walked to the edge of the platform, looked into the sky and raised her hand. For the first time, everyone heard her voice. Not in minds, not in tech, but in the heart. We are not enough alone. Not spark. Not human. Not anything. But together, we might be something greater. Silence. Then the stars trembled. Literally. Above them, light bent. A shape moved just beyond orbit. Black. Massive. Not made of metal or flesh. But will. The thing behind the gate had arrived. Panic. Missiles launched. Defenses fired. Nothing touched it. Nothing reached it. Ships vanished before they could blink. Every AI across Earth shut down. Gravity fluctuated. Time skipped. We can't fight this. A general shouted. Then don't, Jake said. Listen. He turned to Aria. If you're really the spark, if you're what they were trying to shape into a weapon, don't become one. Then what should I be? She asked softly. He smiled. A human. Aria stepped forward. Light surrounded her but didn't burn. It healed. The black shape above Earth began to pulse. Reacting. Aria didn't scream. She didn't attack. She spoke. We are not tools, not keys. not children of gates. We are the voice that says no. We are the fire that refuses to be consumed. We are the species that fights back. And Jake stepped beside her, a man in a simple jacket. No armor, no spark, just a human with a beating heart. He raised his voice with hers. You don't get to decide who lives. You don't get to take. Not anymore. Arya lifted both hands. Light exploded across the sky, but it didn't destroy, it restored. Ships reappeared, systems came back online, stars brightened, and the black shape backed away, not with fear, but with respect. Because for the first time in 1,000 years, something told it no and meant it. Hours later, quiet returned. Not fear. Peace. The sky was full of ships, but they didn't fire. People watched the child, the man and the alien mother who had asked for help when the galaxy turned its back, and they believed, not in gods, not in empires, but in humanity. And something new. Arya sat beside Jake on the ship, looking at the stars. Will it come back? She asked. Maybe, Jake said. What if we can't stop it next time? He shrugged. Then we try anyway, because that's what we do. What are we now? She asked. He smiled. We're human. And the spark burned brighter, not just in her, but across every world now watching and ready to stand, together.